What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Kate Bush, and we're returning to the second side of Ariel 2005, and I know there's been some comments about how in an ideal world you would listen to this in its entirety. I appreciate that. It's not really conducive to the song-by-song manner in which I do reactions, and even if I were to do multiple reactions, it wouldn't be practical for me to do the whole side of the album, because longer videos, I have a harder problem transferring them to my computer. These are not your logistical or technological problems, but I wanted to mention, because I think someone even said that it was sort of disrespectful to do it song by song. I do apologize, I certainly don't mean it to be disrespectful, but it just works better for me to do one track or at most two, and given the names of the previous two tracks, it felt good to do them together. But the point is, I'm still going to do this piecemeal, if you will, but I don't mean any disrespect to Kate or any of her fans, so please bear with me. But the next track is An Architect's Dream, which I like the phrasing. There's a bit of poetry to it. It speaks to a logistical type of occupation, someone who has to design dwellings, buildings, or other structures that have to withstand atmospheric and physical conditions, but also to do so in a way that has an aesthetic quality, that has a human quality to make them livable or to be utilized for whatever purpose, whether it's a business, a residence, an artistic structure, or other purpose, but to have a degree of biological or human intuition to it as well, and then to take that concept into a cognitive state which is not the physical, which is not empirical, but which is based on processes of the brain and of the mind, is another layer where the physical and the transcendent are being fused or synthesized into a single process. So I like the balance of the phrase, I like the poetry or artistry of the phrase. I'll see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Kate Bush. The track is An Architect's Dream, and it's from the second side of her 2005 album, Ariel.
Yes, I need to get that tone a little bit lighter there. Maybe with some dark accents coming in from this side. That's good.
The flick of a wrist, twisting down to the hips, so the lovers begin with a kiss. a tryst.
Some ambient sounds.
Just a smudge of what it becomes in his hands, curving and sweeping, rising and reaching. I could feel what he was feeling, watching the painter painting. The lines like these have got to be an architect's dream. It's always the same. Whenever he works on a pavement, watching the painter painting, it starts to rain. And all the time the light is changing.
So as I almost die from drinking tea down my trachea instead of my esophagus. Yeah, so we hear more bird sounds, more rolling thunder, or more from the atmosphere, the sky. Definitely a continuation of some of the world sounds that we heard on the previous two tracks. And yes, we had some world, not dialogue, but monologue from presumably the architect, but at the same time it sounded more like he was a painter, and so I wonder if those designations are in reference to different people. Maybe it's someone who is an architect but is dreaming about being a painter. And then it sounds like what Kate is describing at multiple points could be in relation to painting a picture, a flick of the wrist, a smudge, a happy little accident where he didn't mean to make a certain mark, but it actually turns out to be one of the most revelatory parts of the composition, of the creation. But also they could be physical gestures about this tryst which is apparently going on. And then they could be operating on both levels at the same time. And, dreams can be surrealist, they can be more full narratives, but they can also just be these little vignettes, these little snippets that aren't clearly connected or are abstract relative to physical processes in real life, where you are drawing someone or painting someone, but then in a dream it could be like making this motion is indeed like moving your hand down to someone's hips, or to, caressing or embracing a creation that could have life of its own. So I feel like there's multiple levels of possibility with some of these lines. And then there was that moment where Kate, I think, was singing both the lead vocal but also in the background as well. And, in dreams, voices sometimes come when you don't see someone's mouth move. Sometimes it's like who a person is supposed to be, but they don't actually look like that person, or you're in a place that you recognize even if the details are different. So I feel like there could be this disconnect from what the person who's dreaming is doing relative to a more literal or physical reality. Nevertheless, I enjoyed the down-tempo ambience, not just in terms of the percussion and the rhythm, but especially those golden, almost metallic type sounds. There was like this sort of lead, if not plucked or like strummed type of layer, but then these almost like a pad like ambient sound that was of a similar timbre that was happening at the same time. Those are my favorite parts of the track sonically. But then there was, again, almost like a strummed, not guitar maybe, but almost like a ukulele or some stringed instrument, but maybe not a guitar. And there were these just melodic strokes with the combination of the sounds that were very ethereal and dreamy, so it seemed like the atmosphere sonically in terms of the instruments fit the atmosphere of the world sounds and were in some placid and smooth type of environment, even if that's merely cognitive and a projection of mental processes, but inhabited by people and animals and emotions and shapes, whether those are, again, are on a canvas or are more material but in an ethereal state. So I feel like my descriptions are as ambiguous and abstract as the tune itself. So hopefully on some level I'm, finding meaning, which of course is in art, it's a bit of a dialogue between viewer, listener, and artist. It's a bit of an interpretive process, and subjective understandings may diverge not only between artist and viewer slash listener, but also between listeners and viewers on a larger scale. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by this one. Absolutely love the down-tempo ambient type of feel to it. Do let me know what you think, what insight you have. I'm very curious, and once again, bear with me as I go through this more or less track by track. I realize it may not be ideal, but it just fits the way I do things, so hopefully that's understandable. From the very dormant and sleeping Luca and I, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.